Hello, guys. You welcome to this episode of Opinion Pulse, where we are discussing the role of self-confidence and identity. Couldn't think of any better person to do this with than Miss Abigail in Cancer, one of the virtuous and very intelligent women I know. Welcome, Abigail.
Thank you very much for such a nice introduction.
Thank you. Indeed, you are virtuous and very, very intelligent. Anyways, she has an upcoming conference. She would be talking much more of that in the latter part of our conversation.
Indeed.
Yeah. So let's get straight into the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so first off, as women and as girls, we find ourselves discussing issues relating to ourselves with other women. Do you think what people think of us play a part in our lives?
In our lives, as
Yeah.
in when you say our lives as individuals or as how we see ourselves regarding the topic self confidence.
Yes.
Okay, so in order to talk about this, we have to understand what self confidence
Yeah.
is about. So when you take the matter of confidence, it's basically a state of
Yeah.
mind. So self confidence is your state of mind that you have belief in your abilities,
Yeah.
belief in your competence, and trust in yourself.
Yeah.
That's basically what self confidence is about. So if you have all these qualities, if you have this belief in yourself, you are aware of who you are, you know your self worth, and then you trust in yourself, then we say that this person is confident in
Yeah.
themselves. So, as per what others do or say to influence an individual, when we look at influence, influence is someone's ability
Yeah.
to affect or change your mindset or your behavior or anything that to you it's probably an action that you want to do. So, even with decision making,
Yeah.
somebody who has the ability to affect these things. So a person aside you
Yeah.
having the ability to affect your self-worth
Yeah.
and then your belief in your abilities
Yeah.
and what you can do
Yeah.
is what we say that this person has an influence over this person.
Yeah.
So an influence over your self-confidence. Personally, I do not believe that any individual should have um, let me put it this way. Everybody, one way or the other, has somebody that can influence them.
Yeah.
But then it is not everybody that can influence anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody is looks at where they are going, their purpose and their vision, and then they align with somebody they know is already on the path.
Yeah.
And whatever those people do or say can influence them.
Yeah.
So when it comes to women, it depends on the person.
Yeah.
So you yourself and the other person on the other end. So if you are going somewhere, let's say I'm having a conference and I'm talking about stuff relating to women, and I want to see how things go or know how things are done, I would definitely look at other people who are already in the system,
Yeah.
who are
Yeah.
already in that environment and how they go about things.
Yeah.
And whatever they say and tell
Yeah.
or whatever they've done will be something that can influence me
Yeah.
as an individual in whatever that I'll do. So for me, I believe that yes, it happens. People's opinions
Self-confidence. Yeah.
affect other people's self-confidence. It can influence somebody's self-confidence, but I don't think you should allow
Yeah.
just anybody to have that much influence for you because influence is power
Yeah.
one way or the other. So someone's ability to change your mindset about yourself,
Yeah.
it's up there. So you don't just allow anybody to do that. But
Yeah.
yes, it is possible for someone to
Yeah.
influence your self-confidence.
Yeah. Honestly, I also do not think my self confidence should depend on how somebody or what somebody perceives about me.
Yeah.
It doesn't even like make sense in the first place.
It means you don't know yourself. That's the basic
Exactly
thing.
my
Yeah.
point. And as an individual, the self awareness is very important. So if you are not aware of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it means you just allow what anybody say.
Anything
And mind
flow.
you, not everybody, if you ask these things, is going to say something good to you. Sometimes we ask people with clear intentions. Probably you want to be clear on something
Mm-hmm.
that is not sitting right with you, but the person ends up giving you something that is nowhere in line of what you are thinking. But because this person has said it, you take it like, okay, depending on who the individual is.
Exactly.
So sometimes this things, it doesn't make sense at all. So moving on to the next question. Was there ever a time you moved on with one particular decision people doubted so much, but then you went ahead to do that particular thing?
So with this question, thinking back, I think the first thing was my decision to dance.
Okay.
Since right from childhood, I've been
Yeah.
on the chubby side. I've been on the like overweight, a little bit overweight
Yeah.
side. So it's very uncommon for somebody like that to be like, oh, I'm interested in dance and I'm interested in pursuing
Yeah.
this. But then I found it so helping. People literally was like, hey, now with me as
Oh,
sorry,
so
but
it didn't
I
lie when they
mean,
said you could dance. I've
yes,
heard it
and
before.
even as I now, people still don't believe when they're like, I'm like, I can dance. They're like,
Myself, I do remember. Do you remember somebody said it the last time? When I was
yes,
asking you that, Abi, can you
is it
dance? But
true?
you didn't say anything. You were just staring.
Yes, because I like that moment where people find out that okay, I didn't expect this from this person,
But then
but
she
this person can
can do it.
actually do it.
Yeah.
I like that feeling. So I wouldn't be there to disprove that fact that
Yeah.
oh I can do this or not.
Yeah.
But I'll just allow you to see for yourself
Yeah.
that yes, I can do it or not. So yes, that was the main thing, like the first basic thing that I was going to do that I
Doubted.
did out of confidence that I know I wanted to dance. So whatever way, even though I didn't know how to really dance, but I still had to go through the process to learn.
Yeah.
And now if I stand to dance, people are shocked. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
basically it.
Yeah. So to me, I think one decision I made that was very hard for people to take. Even to myself, it was hard to take, but then I knew I had to do it no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Was right after school, you are going to serve, you are going to intern. It is there. So most of the times after school, you are done serving and then you are not, it's either you are retained or it's either you move
They
on to
let
your
you go.
life to go and find work elsewhere. But with me, when I was done, I didn't go. I had high expectations of me to be retained there, so I was still there. And then so your colleagues will meet you and then, oh, what's up, right now? What are you doing?
What's
And
your
I
next
said,
step?
oh, I'm done with my service, but I'm still there waiting for an appointment.
Appointment.
Say, Auntie, what you gonna find work to do? This people will not retain you. And it was very, very hard.
I feel you.
Every time I made that statement to somebody, the words that came out were negative. They were never positive. But to me, I knew what I wanted from that. Because
Exactly.
honestly, the field I chose, it needs a practical form of experience. And I knew that having to go stay in the house to look for work,
It won't
that wouldn't
work.
give me the experience, even though they are not paying me though. But then I needed the experience to move on
Yeah.
or to take the next step. So I stayed, I gathered myself along the line, gathering the experience I needed based on my intentions when I was able to get a very solid CV for 1 year. And I left, and honestly, really helped.
Yeah.
So if I had listened,
You wouldn't
I'm
be
not sure I
here
would have
right
been
now.
here by now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, moving on to the third question. Sometimes we make, sometimes having to say no to certain things that we know personally it doesn't align with who we are, but it becomes difficult to say a no to those things. You want to do something as an individual, you know it doesn't align with who you are, but it becomes hard to say no to those things. Have you ever gotten to a point like that?
Hmm. I really don't think there has been that to the point where I cannot say no
Yeah,
because I know where I'm going.
yeah,
It all embodies your purpose and your vision,
yeah,
what you want to do. And you have a clear
yeah,
vision of where you are going. I don't think there's any circumstance
yeah,
that should cause you to um, not really want to say no when you think it doesn't align
yeah,
with what you do. But
yeah,
I know that there are lots of people
yeah,
who
it
go through
happens.
such
Yeah, it
yeah such
happens.
phases, and it's all because one way or the other, it's money involved,
Yeah,
money issues,
yeah,
or a person of higher position
yeah,
is involved,
yeah,
a person of influence is involved, or even family,
Yeah. Or what do I need of that
that
particular time?
particular time.
Yeah.
Yes, so if all these, you look at all these
Factor.
factors, sometimes it gives room for somebody to say, for it to be hard for somebody to say no
No.
to a particular thing that they believe doesn't really
Align
align with
with. Yeah.
who they are. But
Yeah.
then there's one thing me
Yeah.
personally I would
Yeah.
want everybody to practice.
Yeah.
Even when it is that hard to say
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
look critically at
Yeah.
what is in front of you and look at the long run.
Yeah.
So, in the long run, in years to come,
Yeah.
how would this decision affect you?
Yeah.
Because, mind you, our decisions yesterday is what brought us here
Yeah.
today, and our decisions here today is what
Yeah.
will take us to tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, if we take away the fact
Yeah.
that there's a tomorrow involved
Yeah.
and we only look at today
Yeah.
and what we can benefit or
Yeah.
what we stand to benefit, we are making a great error. So in all decisions, whether you want to say no or you want to say yes, just look at the long-term plan.
Yeah.
Look at the long-term effects that
Yeah.
it can have on you and then your vision and where you are going
Yeah.
as an individual. So yeah.
Yeah. So having to stand firm with decisions as an individual is very, very important. Me as a person, I trade on values and principles a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If you are somebody I speak to, or almost other people I've spoken to that listen very, very attentively, I spoke about values and principles as an individual. So there was one particular time, one experience that made me stand firm with my decision.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one particular time I had to work with somebody, but new in the industry and new in the
Yeah.
working space. I knew if you are to work with somebody, you must be given what is the name, an employment letter,
Later.
or probably it must be a contract. Am
Mm-hmm.
I employed? Am I on a contract based on what we are doing?
Something
Yeah,
should prove that I am
good.
working here.
So it got to this time, probably we agreed that it's supposed to be a contract.
Mm-hmm.
This person was supposed to bring the documents for me to sign, but he said, "Oh, you can move on with the work." I said, "Good." Where there was another girl, I told the girl that okay, she's supposed to present a contract. The contract has been given, but the man needs to sign. And the girl was like, to her, if the man doesn't sign, she's not going to work.
Exactly.
When I told the man was like, "Oh, if she's not going to work, allow her to go. I do not work with people like that." The man was very, very rude and disrespectful. I said, "Okay, it's fine. It sounds like for the love of the work." I overlooked that and then I continued to work. Do you know what happened?
Well,
At the end of the month, this man decided not to pay. It really pained me because that money, I had made budgets.
plans,
You see, those times that the money has not yet gotten to you, but it's
but you've
already
already
planned.
budgeted
Go.
everything.
That was what happened to me. So when I lost that money, it pained me so well. Friends who were close to me like saw the effect, but almost every time I was talking about how it pained me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got my next job the next time, it was supposed to be a contract. And as in that point, I stood firm with the decision. I asked the man, please, is it going to be a contract or on what terms are we going to work with?
Mm-hmm.
And then he told me that, okay, so he's going to work with me for 3 months, paying this particular amount. So after 3 months, that is when he's going to make the decision that he's going to present a contract or going
Yeah.
to be an employment. And then I made him understand that this is the agreement. So after 3 months is when you are going to, no, it was 1 month. So after
Okay.
1 month, if you want to continue working with me, then you present the contract. So
Yeah.
at that point, an agreement was made.
Was made.
And even with that, then there needed to be a proof. So I stood firm with that decision that time, and then it made sense to me because I don't want a situation whereby that thing was going to repeat to me,
Yeah, I
repeat again.
understand. I understand your
So
point.
sometimes if these things doesn't, if you don't learn from these experiences, it makes you down as an individual, honestly. Because sometimes the situations you go through, it would obviously come with an experience you need to learn from. So if you do not learn from it, then obviously I do not know.
There's a question mark there.
With you, yeah. So let's listen to this. People with healthy self-confidence often attract healthier relationships, whilst lack of it can lead to people pleasing or toxic dynamics. Like how true is this? Yeah.
Okay, so when we talk about a healthy relationship,
Yeah.
to me, I believe it is a balance
Yeah.
between two individuals who have agreed to come
Yeah.
together in partnership, right? So how does you being confident in yourself
Yeah.
promote a healthy
Relationship.
relationship? So initially, I made mention of how if you are self-confident, there are things that
Yeah.
we look at, there are
Yeah.
factors that determine that this person is confident in themselves or not. And one of them is self-awareness.
Yeah. Exactly.
When you are self-aware, you know of the things that you are good at.
Yeah.
You know your worth.
Good.
You know your flaws.
Exactly.
And these things are necessary
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
relationships. You have to know where you stand, know the things that you can improve upon,
Good.
and know the things that you can bring to the table
Yeah.
as an individual
Yeah.
when you are in partnership with somebody.
Somebody.
So, understanding who you are and all that you need to do, even the things that you need to improve upon,
Yeah.
and trusting in yourself to be a good person
Yeah.
or a person who can have high standards.
Yeah.
Because self confidence and standards, they go hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
And if you have good standards, not necessarily high standards, because some high standards
Yeah.
are not good standards.
Yeah.
So having good standards means that you have checked all these qualities about yourself, and
Aligns
then
with
you
the
know the
individual.
things that you can tolerate, the things that you can do, the things that you cannot tolerate.
Yeah.
So you have your priority,
Good.
things you look for in a man, things
Yeah.
you look for in a woman or in a person that you want to go into partnership with. So when you are aware or you have
Yeah.
knowledge of these
Yeah.
things, it is easy to have a healthy relationship because you will pick somebody that
Yeah.
will work for you.
Yeah.
And that person too will understand you and know what you stand for and
Yeah.
know the things that you value
Yeah.
and will respect them. But on the other hand, if you do not know all these things about yourself, if you do not know your boundaries,
Yeah.
if you do not know your flaws,
Yeah.
if you do not know what you're good
Yeah.
at, definitely you are trying to back somebody.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if the person is not really seeing that in you
And you.
or seeing who you actually are, they can decide to treat you
Yeah.
anyhow.
Yeah.
And in treating you anyhow, you wanting that relationship so much, you now start wanting to please the person in
Person.
any way, demeaning yourself in some matters,
Yeah.
and also not really thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
And then you neglect you, and then you think about how do I please this man so that this person can stay? How do I please this woman so that this woman can
Can't
stay?
stay.
But if you know yourself and you know your standards,
Yeah.
you are not just going for anybody.
Yeah.
You know your direction, you know where you're going.
Exactly.
So I know that this person is going to work for me,
Yeah.
or this person won't work for me.
Yeah.
So I believe that having self confidence, yes, it is true that having self confidence is more or less a roadmap in a
To good
way to
relationship.
a healthy relationship
Yeah.
because you know who you are, you know
Yeah.
what you stand for, you know where you're going,
Yeah.
and then you have boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries are very important.
Important.
Yes, so these things, yes,
Yeah.
to me, I believe it
It is
is
very
very
true.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true for a self confident person to have a good relationship,
Yeah.
though it may be scarce because in some
She get loud.
issues, people tend to not really want people who are too confident in themselves, sorry. They see it as, especially when you are with somebody or when you also don't pick somebody who knows who they are
Yeah.
and then you flaunt who you are,
They feel
they
intimidated.
feel intimidated. So it is very, very scarce for such people
Yeah.
to be in a
Yeah.
relationship. But when they are in, it
Yeah.
is a healthy one, that's for sure.
I heard Vicky James say that she chose her husband in particular because the previous men she was with, they felt intimidated.
By her
Well,
success.
do you get it? But this particular man was never intimidated by who she was.
Mhm.
So sometimes these things, when you are self-aware as an individual, when you are confident in yourself enough, it helps you to identify these things. Sometimes individuals are in these situations, women are in these situations, but they
Mhm.
are not able to identify. It's very clear to them. That is why sir, your fellow woman will ask you, or somebody will come to ask you that I'm with this man. I don't like how he behaves. It looks that he's doing certain things that I don't like. But you sitting elsewhere to look at it, it is because this woman is so desperate for him. And once you are so you make a man know you are so desperate for him, it automatically changes who he is to you. It is not. I think once a woman like you, it's not bad for a woman to like you,
At all.
but And she making you know she's desperate for you doesn't create room for you to misuse her or for you to love her less. But that is what men like. It makes it look as if you have chosen them much more than how you love yourself, and automatically they are going to take advantage of it. So
I really do not encourage desperation,
yeah,
because desperation for what?
yes,
If you know what you stand, even if you do not know what you stand
yeah,
for, why are you desperate for an individual? I believe that sometimes it is more of a person not knowing that, okay, I can be loved in a certain
so
kind of
yeah,
way. I do not, or I've not seen this kind of love before.
yeah,
I do not know that I can be loved in this kind
kind of
of way.
way,
So I settle for less. I settle for somebody who is not even
yeah,
good enough, or somebody who is not giving me what I need.
need,
Yes, so personally, I think that get to know yourself, get to understand
yeah,
what you stand for,
yeah,
and then it's not necessary to be desperate for anybody.
yeah.
As a Christian, be desperate for God.
Honestly,
Yeah, be
because once
desperate
they
for
know
God.
you are desperate for them, it automatically gives them a sign that you will come back no matter what
Yes,
happens.
it means you don't know your worth.
You will come
That's
back
the
no
signal
matter what
it is
happens.
given, that you don't know yourself. So this person will take anything from
Yeah,
me, and they will give you anything.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. And sometimes having this good confidence in yourself, or having this self-awareness as a woman, it is able, sometimes it is possible to affect the man positively, to become a good aspect of himself, um, based on the negative person he used to be, or the negative sides of him.
That is a man who is willing to learn.
Exactly. You can't force anybody to change. Once he's willing to change, automatically it would affect him, because he sits down to look at you. You do these things, and as a rational human being, you're supposed to know that this person, she's good. She's doing her things this kind of way. If I add up to it this kind of way, it would go in a nice patch. So why not do it?
I mean, that's what relationship is about. You improve upon each other. You rub
Exactly.
off each other. So if
Exactly.
you are building good, good comes for the two of you.
Yeah. There's no harm in compromising. Compromising doesn't make you a fool, honestly, or doesn't make you.
It depends on the type of compromise. What
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
compromising
yeah,
on? If you are compromising on your self-esteem,
yeah.
your self-confidence, and
No.
your values, that is bad compromise. I wouldn't advise. But compromise in a sense that give room for improvement,
Exactly.
give room for development,
Exactly.
give room for
Yeah.
mistakes, and then learn
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah.
So yeah, compromise is good,
Yeah.
but in that light,
And
not in the other
do
light.
not trade your values as a woman in principles for anything. Honestly. Do not trade it for anything. If the person is willing to change, automatically when he sees the kind of girl you are, it would come from him. But if he's not willing to change, just allow him to go. Change is not by force. You are not meant to change anybody. Change only happens when the individual has made up his mind to change.
Yes.
Yeah. So, growth, self-identity, and confidence, like all these traits and factors we've spoken about, are they static traits or they change? Are they static, or how do they happen? Do they change, or yeah,
Mhm. This is an interesting question.
yeah,
I believe that growth, you talked about growth and identity.
yeah,
Yeah,
confidence, or
yeah. So they are fluid to
yeah,
me. I
yeah,
believe they are very fluid.
yeah,
It is not static.
yeah,
The knowledge you knew yesterday about yourself
yeah.
is not the knowledge you know today about
Honestly,
yourself.
honestly,
Yeah,
interest change over time.
over
So
time.
yeah,
And the more you add on to your knowledge, the more you grow.
yeah,
So maybe 5 years back
yeah.
to you, you had grown. Like you
To
are the
think of it now
woman.
and then, it was the shallowest idea you could think of.
Exactly. So growth as an individual
Yeah,
is fluid.
yeah,
It moves. You grow and grow and grow and grow. There's no end to growth.
yeah,
We keep growing because we keep learning.
yeah,
The more you learn, the more you know, and
yeah,
the more you grow.
yeah,
So if you are a person who believes in everyday learning, you
yeah.
will definitely grow.
Grow
You
every
won't
day.
stay how you are.
Yeah,
And understanding your identity or knowing who you are,
yeah,
it is also fluid,
mm,
because the more you get into some experiences, it opens you up to some things that, oh, okay, so I know how to do this.
yeah,
okay, so this was really in
Yeah,
me.
it
I
helps
could
you
do
challenge
this.
yourself.
I could do this. Okay, I couldn't do this.
Yeah,
Now you are learning more about you
yeah,
as you grow.
yeah,
And I've heard somebody say, it's a funny saying, but I've heard somebody say that every lady needs to go through a heartbreak for them to boss up
it didn't
or
make
to
sense to
wise up.
me, but it makes sense to me now. I've heard it before, then it didn't make
Yes.
sense to me, but now having to encounter different kind of people, it is really, really important.
Yes.
Yes.
So when you go through these experiences, what it proves to you, aside you growing,
Yeah.
is you knowing who you are as an individual.
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of identity. I
Yeah.
can tolerate this, I cannot tolerate this. I want this, this is how I show love,
Yeah.
this is how I want to receive love.
Yeah.
So all these things opens you up to know yourself.
Yeah.
So that's knowing of yourself that you knew yesterday. The experiences in today
Yeah.
will add up.
So
Yes, so
for
it
you.
is never static.
Yeah.
It is always growing,
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
It's fluid to
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
And it's like I can with you. Growth comes from experiences. So if you have certain experiences you've not learned from and you keep on making those exact mistakes that didn't help you earlier on, then it means you are not willing to
Yeah.
grow. That is what it means to me. Yes.
Oh, lastly, let me add this. If you are an anime fan, I am a huge anime lover, by the way. And this is depicted very well in Solo Leveling.
Yeah.
How a guy who had no power was like doing scrubs, doing things that are not really important
Yeah.
when other people are showcasing their power and their talent and how they can do a lot of stuff. But then this person pushes himself to the extreme
Yeah.
to go beyond his limits.
Yeah.
And now he understands and he proves to himself that
Yeah.
he could actually do it. And he got to a level where he got so powerful now, people were now looking for
For
him.
him.
Yes. So if you do not grow and you stay the way you are, he wouldn't have known that existed in
In
him.
him.
He wouldn't have ever known. But due to the experiences he pushed himself
Yeah.
into, he got to know a lot about himself and
Yeah.
he grew
Yeah.
with time. So yes,
It
growth
happens
is
in
very
our
fluid.
everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
The least expected becomes the most expected at a
Exactly.
certain point
At a
in
certain
time.
point.
Yeah. So thank you for adding that. So all too soon, we have come to the end of our very first segment. Up next would be the segment you will find so interesting. That is trends. But before we move into that, Abigail has something to add up before we move on to our next segment.
So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah.
It's been lovely having this
Yeah.
conversation with you.
Yeah.
And there are a few things I would want to share before I talk about the conference. So as an individual, there are a few things that you must get to know. You have to have self-awareness.
Yeah.
You must be aware of yourself, what things you have to do, what things you can't do, your flaws, your worth. Get to know all these things.
Yeah.
Build resilience. Build strong resilience. Whatever comes your way, just know that you are going somewhere.
Yeah.
And talking about going somewhere, have a vision, a purpose.
Very
Without that,
important.
you are living a vacant life. I mean, what's the purpose of waking up today if you do not have any purpose or vision? Everybody's working towards something. So find out what your purpose is,
Yeah.
what your vision is, whether you want to be a business person, whether spiritually, whether socially. Find out what your purpose is and then start working in them. Have a vision, have a goal, work towards it. Do not be a layman with no direction and then you're just moving with the wind or with the current. Have a direction, have a purpose, have where you are going, and also be open to critiques. Be very open to critiques and feedback because sometimes there are things that you may do or actions you may take to you, you do not know that, okay, this thing that I did is not supposed to be done this way.
Yeah.
So I believe in healthy critiques. Allow yourself to be critiqued.
Yeah.
Let people give their feedback on whatever that you do,
Yeah.
so that you know that, okay, I'm doing this way. This is not how it is done. This is how society sees it, or this is how the people or my target audience sees it.
Yes.
So how can I improve upon
Yeah.
this? Feedback helps you to improve upon yourself.
Yeah.
So if you don't take feedbacks, you cannot improve upon yourself.
Yeah.
You will stay where you are. So be open so much to critique. Allow people to do that.
Yeah.
Take the ones that can help you and develop upon yourself. Okay,
Trash the
so
nonsense.
exactly,
Trash the
trash them,
nonsense.
put them in a bin. Don't let it affect you. Other
Anyway.
people will always have opinion about you,
Yeah.
but what is your opinion about yourself? When you look inside the mirror, what do you see? From
Yeah.
a Christian point of view, we always say that when we look at ourselves, we are looking at Christ.
Yeah.
So what is Christ saying about us?
Yes.
What has Christ said about us? What is written about us? That is what we believe in.
Yeah.
That is our identity. So if somebody is telling you otherwise, you should know that it's a threat.
Yeah.
That is not who you are. So knowing who you are as an individual, having self-confidence, having your self-esteem is very crucial to your development, and having a vision as well. So lastly, talking about the conference that is coming on
Yeah.
21st of June here at Dominion University College, 2 p.m. The topic or the theme that we are going to talk about or discuss about is the art of influence. You're going to learn about self confidence, as we've spoken about
Wow.
here. You're going to learn about legacy. You're going to learn about vision and purpose.
Yeah.
You're going to learn how to influence positively, because influence goes both ways.
Yeah.
There's bad influence and then there's good
Good
influence. So, how to influence positively in all spheres of your life. So, I hope to see anybody who comes across this video. I hope to see you all. If you want to learn more about yourself,
Yeah.
learn more about influence, be present 21st of June
Yeah.
here at Dominion University College, 2 p.m. So thank you very much for
Thank you
having me.
too.
It's been a lovely time.
Thank you
You're
too.
welcome.
So thank you for sticking and staying with us. Bye.
Bye.